Every breakthrough begins with a decision to move forward, even when you feel uncertain, unready, or afraid. Most people believe they must wait for the perfect moment, that magical instant, when every doubt vanishes and confidence suddenly floods their hearts. But the truth is simpler. If you keep waiting for certainty, you may end up waiting forever. Readiness is an illusion. It's like trying to hold sunlight in your hands. The more you reach for it, the faster it slips away. The greatest journeys of human history never began with total clarity. They began with one bold step into the unknown. Think of a young explorer setting sail centuries ago. The horizon was hidden by fog, the seas uncharted, and the risks enormous. Yet they didn't wait for perfect maps. They created them by moving. Each mile revealed more of the path ahead. That's exactly how progress unfolds in our lives. The next step is always revealed only after you've taken the first. Action is the spark that transforms uncertainty into direction. The moment you move, your perspective shifts. You gain clarity, your confidence expands, and your skills sharpen in ways no amount of preparation can ever teach. You don't build courage by standing still. You build it by stepping forward with shaking hands and a racing heart, and realizing you can handle more than you thought. I once heard the story of a man who dreamed of becoming a chef. For years, he convinced himself he wasn't ready. He bought cookbooks, watched endless tutorials, and told friends that one day he would open a restaurant. But one day kept slipping further away. Finally, exhausted from waiting for perfection, he took a job washing dishes in a small kitchen just to be near the craft he loved. Within weeks, he was chopping vegetables. Months later, he was experimenting with sauces. By the end of the year, he was preparing meals that amazed customers. What years of hesitation could not give him. A single year of imperfect action delivered in abundance. This is the secret. You don't wait for readiness. You create it through action. But let's be honest. Taking the first step often feels terrifying. You might wonder, what if I fail? What if I embarrass myself? What if I'm not good enough? But failure is not proof of weakness. It's proof that you were brave enough to try. Look at Thomas Edison, who tested thousands of ways to create the electric light. Each failed experiment wasn't a defeat. It was a lesson, a stepping stone that revealed what would eventually work. He didn't see mistakes as endings, but as refinements that shaped success. Your setbacks function the same way. They chip away at what doesn't serve you, like a sculptor striking marble, until the hidden statue begins to emerge. Every stumble removes what is unnecessary. Every misstep sharpens your direction. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process that builds it. I once knew a story of a woman who dreamed of becoming an architect. Her first attempt at running her own design studio collapsed within months. Clients didn't come, her pricing was wrong, and she doubted herself deeply. But instead of giving up, she studied the mistakes, learned from others in her field, and refined her vision. Years later, she launched again, and this time, her work transformed into a thriving practice admired by many. Would she have succeeded without the first failure? Impossible. That setback wasn't a dead end. It was the very foundation of her future victory. So let me remind you, your worth is not measured by how often you fall. It's measured by how many times you rise again. Every comeback strengthens you. Every time you get back up, you declare to the world and to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances. And here's something even more powerful. Your potential has no expiration date. So many people believe they miss their chance, that they're too old, too late, or too far behind. They see others shining brightly and assume their own season has passed. But potential is not tied to age or timing. Potential is renewed each morning when you wake up. Consider the famous Japanese artist Hokusai. He created masterpieces in his 70s and 80s, declaring that his greatest work still lay ahead. Or think of Vera Wang, who didn't design her first dress until she was 40, yet became one of the most celebrated fashion icons of her era. Your future is not limited by your past. Every experience, every challenge, every lesson you've endured is not a weight dragging you down, but a tool you can now wield. The wisdom you've earned equips you for the next chapter, if only you dare to write it. So remember, the perfect moment does not exist. Clarity comes through motion, confidence grows through practice, and passion blooms when you commit to the path. Your first step may feel small, but it carries the power to change everything. Take it, and the road will rise to meet you. This is where the story of transformation begins. Confidence isn't a gift handed to a chosen few. It's not something you're born with or without, like eye color or height. Confidence is a skill, a muscle, a fire that strengthens every time you dare to use it. The mistake most people make is waiting to feel confident before acting. But that's not how it works. Confidence doesn't arrive first. Action does. You build belief in yourself by showing up, by speaking even when your voice trembles, by stepping onto the stage even when your knees shake. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's motion in spite of fear. Think of Amelia Earhart, who flew across oceans at a time when few believed women could even command planes. She didn't wait until she was fearless. She built her courage in the cockpit, with every flight, every takeoff, every landing. Each daring choice forged a new layer of certainty within her. That's how confidence grows. Not through imagining, but through doing. I once heard of a man who dreaded public speaking. Even in small gatherings, his face burned red and his hands shook uncontrollably. For years he stayed silent, avoiding opportunities to share his thoughts. One day, exhausted from hiding, he forced himself to speak at a tiny community meeting. His voice cracked, his words stumbled, but he finished. And when he did, something remarkable happened. He survived. That single moment didn't make him fearless, but it cracked the wall of doubt he had built around himself. 2 weeks later, he spoke again. Then again. Over time, his words grew stronger, his voice steadier. Within a couple of years, he was standing before large audiences, speaking with power and grace. He hadn't been born a confident speaker. He became one by choosing to practice courage repeatedly. This is the essence of growth. Small wins stacked on top of each other until they build unshakable confidence. But let's talk about something that silently steals progress from so many people: comparison. Too often we measure our journey against someone else's highlight reel. We see a colleague advance, and suddenly our own work feels insignificant. We scroll through images of success online and convince ourselves we're behind. But comparison blinds us to our own growth. No two lives follow the same path. Some begin early, others begin late. Some sprint forward, others take winding roads. A tree in the forest doesn't envy the blossoms of another tree. It grows at its own pace, drawing strength from its own roots. Your story is yours alone. When you stop looking sideways and start looking forward, you reclaim the energy wasted on envy and turn it into fuel for your own progress. I recall a woman who worked tirelessly but always felt overshadowed. Every time a colleague was praised, she doubted herself more. One day, she began a simple practice: writing down her own victories each week. They weren't always grand. Sometimes it was learning a new skill, sometimes handling a tough conversation with grace. But as the weeks passed, she saw how much she was truly evolving. Her confidence grew not because others changed, but because she finally recognized her own steady progress. The only meaningful comparison is between who you were yesterday and who you are today. And here's the key to making that progress consistent. Discipline outweighs motivation. Motivation is wonderful, but it's fleeting. It's like weather, sometimes bright and energizing, sometimes cloudy and absent. If you wait for motivation to strike before you act, you'll stay stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. Discipline, however, is steady. Discipline is the promise you keep to yourself on the days when excitement fades. It's the steady drumbeat that keeps you moving forward, step after step, until momentum takes over. Think of a farmer. He doesn't wake up and ask if he feels motivated to water the fields. He knows the crops demand consistency. He tends to them whether the sun shines or rain pours, and because of his daily discipline, his harvest is certain. The same principle applies to your goals. Whether you're learning a new skill, building a business, or transforming your health, success is born from the habit of showing up. I knew a woman who longed to play the piano. She bought a beautiful instrument, practiced enthusiastically for a few weeks, and then life distracted her. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the piano sat silent, reminding her of what she hadn't done. Then she made one small change. She committed to practicing for just 15 minutes a day, no matter what. Some days she felt excited. Other days she felt tired or bored. But she honored the commitment. Within weeks, she noticed real improvement. Within months, she was playing pieces she once thought impossible. The difference wasn't talent, it was consistency. Discipline built what motivation alone could never sustain. And here's the empowering truth. You already have what it takes. You don't need to wait for perfect timing, for someone else's approval, or for a lightning bolt of inspiration. You simply need to begin, to take one small action, keep your promise to yourself, and repeat it. Confidence grows. Comparison fades. Discipline carries you. And each of these choices is within your power today. If comfort were the path to greatness, the world would be filled with extraordinary achievements. But comfort isn't where growth lives. Comfort is where we stay the same. Real transformation begins the moment you step outside that safe, predictable space into territory that feels uncertain, demanding, and even uncomfortable. Growth and discomfort are twins. You rarely get one without the other. A seed doesn't become a towering tree by staying buried in the soil. It pushes upward, straining against the heavy earth above it. That resistance isn't punishment. It's the very process that gives the seed the strength to survive storms once it reaches the light. Your challenges serve the same purpose. They are the resistance that strengthens your capacity, preparing you for the opportunities ahead. Many people see obstacles as stop signs, as proof that they've chosen the wrong direction. But difficulties are not barriers designed to keep you out. They are invitations to dig deeper, to adapt, to stretch your limits. Think of water meeting a stone. The water doesn't declare defeat. It flows around, over, or eventually carves straight through. That quiet persistence reshapes even the hardest rock. You have that same power. When one way fails, you can find another. When a door closes, you can create a window. Every challenge asks a simple question. How much do you really want this? I remember reading about a scientist whose early research proposals were rejected again and again. Critics dismissed her ideas as impractical. For years, she faced closed doors and endless doubt. Instead of quitting, she used every rejection as a guidepost. She refined her approach, sharpened her methods, and built new connections. Years later, her discoveries transformed her entire field and earned global recognition. If she had treated obstacles as a command to stop, the breakthrough never would have happened. But because she saw them as teachers, those very obstacles became the foundation of her success. Your roadblocks are not there to end your journey. They are there to shape it. And here's the deeper truth. Resilience is born in struggle. When life feels heavy, when setbacks arrive, when plans collapse, those moments are not proof that you're failing. They are invitations to rise stronger. Every time you recover from a fall, you build inner strength that cannot be taken from you. Look at Ludwig van Beethoven. Even after losing much of his hearing, he composed some of the greatest music the world has ever known. What many would have seen as a final defeat, he transformed into fuel for creativity. His resilience turned tragedy into timeless art. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It's about using hardship as the very ground on which you build your strength. I once knew the story of a young man who dreamed of competing in athletics. During his first major race, he stumbled badly and finished last. Humiliated, he wanted to give up. But instead of quitting, he studied his mistakes, trained harder, and kept showing up to competitions. Each failure gave him new insight. Years later, he stood on the winner's podium, not because his path was smooth, but because every fall taught him how to rise faster. That's the gift of adversity. It refines you, sharpens you, and prepares you for heights you couldn't reach without it. Now, let's talk about something many people overlook. Growth requires embracing discomfort deliberately. It's not enough to avoid fear. You must step toward it. The projects that make your heart race, the challenges that make your stomach tighten, those are the very experiences that expand you. I recall a woman who worked the same job for 2 decades. She knew every routine, every task. Life was steady, safe, predictable. But deep down, she felt restless. When offered a leadership role that required managing a large team and learning completely new systems, her first instinct was to decline. The responsibility scared her, but something inside whispered, "Say yes." The first months were overwhelming. She struggled with doubt, made mistakes, and even considered stepping back. But slowly, what once felt unbearable became natural. She developed skills she never thought possible, discovered courage she didn't know she had, and emerged with a strength that changed her life forever. Her discomfort was not a barrier. It was the bridge to her transformation. Here's the truth. If you want to grow into the person you're capable of becoming, you must regularly choose what stretches you. Say yes to opportunities that scare you. Attempt projects that demand more than you currently know. Step into conversations that challenge you to rise. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is the price of transformation. So the next time life places resistance in your way, whether it's a rejection, a delay, or a daunting challenge, remember this. It's not a sign to turn back. It's an invitation to rise. Obstacles are not walls. They are stepping stones. Discomfort is not punishment. It is preparation. And resilience is not just survival. It is the superpower that transforms struggle into strength. When people imagine transformation, they often picture dramatic turning points, a single moment that changes everything. They dream of instant breakthroughs, overnight success, and grand decisions that rewrite their lives. But lasting change rarely happens that way. Real transformation is built in small, consistent steps. Tiny shifts, repeated daily, compound into monumental results. Think of how rivers carve valleys and shape mountains. The water doesn't smash the rocks in a single storm. It flows steadily, day after day, year after year, wearing away stone until landscapes are transformed. The same principle applies to your life. What you do repeatedly, even in small amounts, reshapes your future. The challenge is that small steps often feel insignificant. A short walk, a single page read, 15 minutes of practice. By themselves, they don't look like much. But add them together, and they build unstoppable momentum. I once knew a man who felt stuck in his health. Years of neglect left him exhausted and discouraged. Every few months, he'd attempt massive overhauls. Strict diets, extreme workouts, impossible routines. And every time, he would crash within weeks. Finally, a mentor gave him different advice. Start smaller than you think matters. So he began with just 10 minutes of walking each day. That's it. It seemed laughably small, but it was consistent. Within weeks, he added another habit, drinking more water. Later, he swapped one unhealthy snack for fruit. Over time, these minor adjustments transformed his energy, his body, and his confidence. What had felt impossible through dramatic leaps became inevitable through steady, simple steps. The lesson is clear. Small choices, repeated, create massive results. Look at Charles Darwin. His theories that reshaped science weren't the product of sudden lightning strikes of genius. They were built through years of meticulous observation, small notes scribbled daily, tiny details gathered patiently. Brick by brick, he constructed ideas that shifted the world. Excellence is rarely about massive effort once. It's about consistent effort often. Let me share another story. A young woman longed to become an author. She dreamed of finishing a novel, but felt overwhelmed by the sheer size of the task. She kept postponing, waiting for the perfect stretch of free time. One day, frustrated, she committed to writing just 300 words each morning before work. Less than a page. Day by day, the words added up. In a year, she held a completed manuscript in her hands. What once felt impossible became inevitable, not through bursts of inspiration, but through steady commitment to small daily progress. That's the hidden magic. Tiny actions done consistently eventually feel unstoppable. Why do small steps work so well? Because they bypass resistance. When you try to change everything at once, your mind rebels. It feels too big, too heavy, too different. But when you ask yourself for something small, something that takes minutes, not hours, resistance doesn't have time to fight. You slip past doubt, and action becomes natural. That's how habits form. One small victory builds confidence. One consistent choice builds identity. Soon, you no longer try to change. You simply live differently. Think of a sculptor shaping marble. Each strike of the hammer looks tiny. Each chip of stone seems minor. But together, those thousands of small strikes reveal the masterpiece hidden inside. Your habits work the same way. Each small choice chips away what doesn't belong and shapes the life you're meant to live. So, if the vision of your future feels overwhelming, don't chase perfection. Don't wait for dramatic change. Instead, ask yourself, what is one small step I can take today? Because the truth is this: greatness isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small, steady steps, multiplied by time, persistence, and patience. And here's the most empowering part. Small steps not only change your results, they change you. Each action you take rewires your belief in yourself. You begin to see that you are capable, that progress is possible, that momentum is building. This creates a cycle. Action builds belief. Belief fuels more action. And together, they carry you further than you ever imagined. Let me remind you, you don't need to transform your life overnight. You don't need to wait for a grand breakthrough. All you need is one step today, another tomorrow, and the courage to keep going. Because over time, those small steps create big change. And the life you dream of, it's waiting not in a single leap, but in the steady rhythm of consistent, simple choices. So many people spend their lives searching for passion, as if it's a hidden treasure buried somewhere out there. They wait for a lightning bolt, a perfect moment of revelation, when they'll suddenly know their purpose and feel endless excitement. But passion doesn't work that way. Passion is not found. Passion is grown. It begins as a spark, a flicker of interest, a whisper of curiosity. Left alone, it may fade. But if you nurture it with effort, attention, and practice, it transforms into a flame that lights your entire life. Think of how a fire starts. It never begins with a roaring blaze. It begins with a tiny ember, fragile and uncertain. You protect it, feed it, give it oxygen, and slowly it grows into a fire strong enough to warm you through the night. Passion follows the same pattern. You don't stumble across it fully formed. You build it by showing up, by engaging, by investing energy into something meaningful until it takes root inside you. I once heard of a man who drifted from job to job, never feeling excited about any of them. Friends asked him, "What's your passion?" He didn't know. He felt broken, as if he were missing something essential. One afternoon, almost by accident, he helped a friend repair a bicycle. The tools, the problem-solving, the hands-on process sparked something small inside him. Curious, he began tinkering with more bikes, then motorcycles, then eventually larger machines. What started as a random spark grew into a powerful passion for engineering. Over time, he built a thriving business, not because he found passion, but because he cultivated it through practice, persistence, and growth. That's the secret. Passion doesn't arrive first and give you motivation. Effort comes first. Passion follows. The more you practice, the more skilled you become. The more skilled you become, the more invested you feel. And the more invested you feel, the stronger your passion grows. It's a cycle. Effort fuels mastery. Mastery fuels passion. And passion fuels deeper effort. Look at Vincent van Gogh. In his lifetime, he wasn't celebrated, and he often doubted himself. But he painted relentlessly, driven by curiosity and a burning need to improve. His passion wasn't handed to him. He grew it, stroke by stroke, canvas by canvas. I remember a young woman who thought she had no passion. She tried hobbies, started projects, but nothing seemed to stick. Finally, she decided to commit to something small, learning photography. At first, she felt clumsy. Her early shots were awkward, the lighting wrong, the angles unbalanced. But instead of quitting, she kept going. She read, practiced, experimented. Months later, her skills began to shine. People noticed her photos. She started to feel joy each time she held the camera. Years later, she turned what once felt like an experiment into a thriving career. What changed? Not her destiny, her discipline. Passion grew from her persistence. This is liberating, because it means you don't have to wait for passion to strike like lightning. You can build it. You can choose something that sparks even the smallest interest and give it time, energy, and attention until it grows. And here's the truth. Passion often hides behind the awkward beginner stage. Too many people quit too early, walking away before the flame has time to grow. They say, "This isn't for me," when in reality, they just haven't given it enough time to blossom. The beginning is always messy. Skills are clumsy. Results are unimpressive. But if you keep showing up, passion sneaks up on you. One day, what once felt like effort will feel like joy. Consider Leonardo da Vinci. He didn't limit himself to one perfect passion. He followed curiosity, wherever it led: painting, anatomy, invention, architecture. His relentless exploration shows us that passion doesn't have to be singular or predetermined. It's cultivated by feeding your curiosity and committing to learning. Your path can work the same way. You don't need to know your final destination before you start. Follow what sparks interest. Nurture it. Practice it. Let it grow. Passion will rise along the way. So stop waiting to find passion as if it's hiding somewhere out there. Instead, create it. Build it. Protect it. Let effort light the spark and consistency feed the fire. Because passion isn't a gift from the outside world. It's a masterpiece you craft from within. We've traveled through powerful truths. That readiness is created through action. That confidence is built one step at a time. That discipline outlasts motivation. That discomfort is the gateway to growth. That small steps create big change. And that passion is cultivated, not found. Now let's bring it all together. Because the life you dream of isn't waiting in some distant future. It begins here, now, with the choices you make today. Every morning, you wake up holding the pen that writes the next chapter of your story. Yesterday's pages may be filled with setbacks, hesitation, or missed chances, but those pages are not your destiny. They are lessons, tools, preparation. What matters is the choice you make in this moment. Will you keep waiting, hoping for certainty to arrive? Or will you step forward, trusting that the path will reveal itself as you walk it? The world does not reward hesitation. It rewards action. Think of Marie Curie. Her breakthroughs in science didn't come because she waited for ideal conditions. They came because she pressed forward, often in obscurity, with limited resources, driven by persistence. She didn't know the full path. She created it step by step, with courage and relentless determination. Your life works the same way. You don't need the whole map. You only need the next step. Here's what you must remember. Obstacles will come. You will stumble. You will feel uncertain. But none of these are signs that you're failing. They are proof that you are on the journey that matters. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about rising every time you do. Each rise makes you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next stage. Every challenge adds weight to the muscles of your character. And in time, you'll look back and realize the obstacles you once feared became the very stepping stones that lifted you higher. Discipline will carry you when motivation disappears. Small, steady steps will move you further than dramatic bursts. Passion will grow the more you invest in it. And discomfort, the very thing you once tried to avoid, will transform into the soil in which your greatest victories bloom. This is not theory. It is the blueprint of every person who has ever achieved something meaningful. Let me share one last story. There was a man who worked in an ordinary job for decades, never believing he was capable of more. In his 50s, he decided to learn painting, something he had admired from afar, but never dared to try. At first, his work was clumsy. His family smiled politely at his uneven canvases, but he kept painting. Day after day, he improved. Slowly, his skills sharpened. Eventually, his art began to speak to people. He started exhibiting in local galleries. Years later, he became recognized for his unique style, creating beauty that touched countless lives. Imagine if he had told himself, "It's too late. My time has passed." His story reminds us, your potential has no expiration date. So here is the message I leave with you. Stop waiting. Stop doubting. Stop looking sideways. Step forward. Build confidence through action. Choose discipline over fleeting moods. Welcome discomfort as the doorway to transformation. Celebrate small steps as the building blocks of greatness. And nurture passion until it becomes a fire that lights your path. Because the truth is, the life you dream of is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for your decision. One day, you will look back on this moment, and you will see it clearly. This was the turning point, not because everything was perfect, but because you decided to begin. So start today. Take the step. Trust the process. And watch as your courage, your persistence, and your unwavering spirit create a life far greater than you ever imagined.